Hello, my name is Afario Salmon Mijage from Edukea Tanzania. Welcome in history class from 6C, history 2. On the last session we ended on the Russian Revolution, effects of Russian Revolution of October 1917 to the world. So today we are going to see the effects of Russian Revolution in Africa. It means that what were the effects of Bolshevik Revolution or Russian Revolution or October 1917 Revolution in Africa. The first effect was it intensified or increased the anti-colonial struggles for those who were fighting for self-determination and self-rule, whereby Russia provided more support and material support and the moral support to African nations. So you can see that the Russian Revolution contributed to the intensification of anti-colonial struggles in Africa, as African countries were struggling for self-determination and the freedom or self-rule, whereby Russia provided the material support and the moral support to the African countries that were struggling or fighting for attaining their self-rule from colonial domination. The African nations, it means that we are fighting against colonialists due to the fact that colonialism and capitalism were two sides of the same coin. So that's why the Russian Revolution contributed much, it affected the anti-colonial struggles in Africa, whereby Russia provided material and moral support to the African countries. For example, in Tanganyika, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere gained moral support, advices from the Russian leaders on how the ways will be used to expel or to remove the colonial administrators in Tanganyika, as well as Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, we have provided the material and the moral support, as well as ideas and techniques which could be used in removing the colonialists from their nation. So you can see that how Russian Revolution of 1917 contributed much or affected much to the African countries. But another effect to Africa intensified or increased the spread of socialist ideology and the adoption of socialism in various African nations. For example, Ujamaa village, which was the result of familyhood in Tanzania, Common Man's Charter in Uganda, Alambe in Kenya, and the humanism in Zambia. That was the result of the Russian Revolution of October 1917. As we know that socialism was much emphasizing in self-reliance, to mean that self-dependent. So the African countries were adapted the ideas which were implemented by the Russian Revolution or Russian leaders after the Bolshevik Revolution of October 1917. So the main African countries come up with different socialist ideologies that could be adapted in their countries for the development of their nations. As we can see that many African leaders were adapted those socialist ideologies in their respective countries. As you can see, the example as Tanganyika under Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere adapted the Ujamaa village or Ujamaa and the self-reliance as the socialist ideology that was used in Tanganyika to ensure that all Tanganyikans are self-dependent and not depending on the Western donors. Common Man's Charter that was adopted in Uganda, also Alambe that was adopted in Kenya by their leader, as well as humanism ideology in Zambia. These all were socialist ideologies which were adopted by the African leaders as a result of Russian Revolution of 1917 in October, and that was another among the effects that was brought by Russian Revolution to African continent. But the third one was created a political awareness in Africa, especially when many Africans began to go in Russia for education, and this was because Russia provided a scholarship to Africans to go in Russia to study many things, including socialism. It means that the revolution that took place in October 1917 in Russia was affected much African countries in the way that the political awareness in Africa was created as many Africans began to go in Russia and to study many things concerning with socialism and the communism. And you can see that the scholarship were provided or were given the chance to the Africans to take the opportunities and to go in Russia to gain many skills and knowledges about the socialism and the communalism. And that was another effect of 1917 revolution in Russia. It increased the enmity in African nations due to the fact that there are some African nations which follow the capitalist ideology and others followed socialism. So we can see that in African countries, not all countries were supporting the socialist ideology, but there are some leaders or countries which were supporting capitalism or capitalist ideology. So, as a result of the Russian Revolution of October 1917, it means that there are some emerging leaders who were started to oppose those African leaders who were supporting or embracing the socialism and their ideologies. So, there was emergence of enmity among the capitalist followers and the socialist followers. So, in one way or another, we can see that the enmity was increased or intensified because of Russian Revolution as a challenge of socialism that has been spread by the Russian Revolution to make the roots in Africa and to spread all over African continent. And that's why there were immediately the enmity among the Africans. As we can see, for example, due to that ideology in East Africa led to the collapse of former East African community in 1977. As we can see that in East Africa, due to the spread of socialism ideology, it means that that revolution led to the collapse of the former East African community or EAC. It means that in 1917, whereby there are some member states which were following meaning capitalist followers and others were socialist followers. As we can see that Tanganyika was under socialist ideology or socialist leadership, but in Kenya there were capitalism ideology. So in one way or another there was misunderstanding among the African or member states of East African community, and that's why in 1977 the East African community was collapsed and it was revived in 2000. I mean in 2000. That was because of the Russian Revolution of October 1977. So these were all the effects of Russian Revolution to African continent. So let us see the significance of Russian Revolution of October 1917 in the world. What were the significance or the roles or the importance of Russian Revolution? Or we can see we can call it the contribution of Russian Revolution of October 1917 in the world. The first one, the Russian Revolution brought a new social and political system in the world, because after Russian Revolution, which witnessed at the first time the theory of scientific socialism to put into practice, in the world history led to the birth of socialism as the new social and political system. It means that Russian Revolution of October 1917, it means that signified the new social and political system that was dominated the world in different countries. As we can see that the socialism was regarded as the new social and political system that governed the world, and as we witnessed that many the countries in the world were adopted socialism and to make it as the social and political system that govern the respective countries in the world. And it was witnessed at the first time when the seal of scientific socialism was put into the practice in the world history, and that led to the base of socialism as a new social and political system that was practiced by different and various countries in the world. For example, in Africa, in Asia, Eastern Europe, and the Southern America. We can see that many countries were adopted socialism as the new social and political system. But another significance of Russian Revolution to the world that Russian led to the polarization of the world into conflicting ideology camps, which were socialism in one end with Eastern Bloc, not black, this is a bloc, Eastern Bloc, and capitalism with Western Bloc. So there was a great advantage to different nations of the world, because those nations which were under socialism were to get assistance, both material support and moral support from USSR, and those nations who were under capitalism were supposed to get assistance from USA. We can see that the Russian Revolution of October 1917, it means that signified the polarization, it means the division of the world into two poles. It means that the Eastern and the Western, whereby the Eastern were countries that were following the it means that the Eastern Bloc that were the USSR and the Western Bloc were the USA. It means that the capitalism and the socialism on the other side. It means that the socialism means Eastern Bloc was under United Soviet Socialist Republic or USSR. The main country was Russia, and on the other side, the Western Bloc or camp was under USA or United States of America as a capitalism country. And thus, all countries which were supporting socialism got the both moral and the material support from USSR, and those countries that were supporting capitalism were getting the assistance or moral and the material support from USA as a capitalist nation. So you can see that these camps were supporting or providing the assistance to their followers to ensure that economically, socially, political, and technologically developing, in order to make those countries which are less developed to be attracted to follow those countries, to follow that side that is supporting more than the other side. But another significance of the Russian Revolution of October 1917 was Russian led to the demonstration that socialism can be built even under unprompted condition, that is, can be built anywhere, because by that time of socialist revolution in Russia was still dominated by feudal mode of production in large parts, but it managed to build socialism. It means that the Russian Revolution led to demonstration that socialism can be built in anywhere and even under unprompted condition. That is, socialism could be built anywhere, because by that time socialism revolution Russia was still under the feudal mode of production, and in large parts of Russia. But from that case, Russia or leaders who were immediately were able to manage to build socialism, regardless of the situations and the problems that they were encountered. So in one way or another, was this, it signified to the world in that sense. Another significance of Russian Revolution of October 1917 was the Russian Revolution led to the formation of non-allied movement in the less developed countries, in which the intention of formation of non-allied movements was to look for a middle course of the Cold War politics involved in the superpowers, but also it aimed at attracting economic, social, political, as well as technological, technical assistance from both superpowers of the world in that time, which was USSR and the USA to the power nation. It meant that the Russian Revolution led to the formation of non-allied movement, and that non-allied movements were the movement that was formed in 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia, during the Bandung Conference, whereby the less developed countries were attended that conference, including Indonesia, Ghana, India, Burma, and other Caribbean countries that were attended to form that movement. And their intention was neither for capitalism or socialism, in order to attract both sides to give the assistance technologically, politically, socially, and technically, so that they can benefit from both sides without showing their real side. To me, they were neutral, they were in middle, neither supporting capitalism, neither supporting socialism. In order to win the Cold War politics that was immediately after the rise of the two superpowers. But also another significance of Russian Revolution was the Russian inspired and accelerated liberation struggles and decolonization processes in colonized areas of Africa and Asia by providing both material and moral support to the nationalists. For example, the concept of national question advocated by Joseph Stalin called upon the colonized people to fight against colonialism as well as imperialism led by USA, which wanted the colonies to be free for us to invest, to exploit, to get labor, market, and raw materials for industries. So we can see that Russian Revolution, as among of the significant that led in the world, it means that inspired and accelerated the liberation struggles and decolonization processes in the colonized areas in Africa and Asia. As we can see that after the Russian Revolution, many African countries and the Asian countries started to gain their independence and freedom, and thus those countries got both material and moral support to the nationalistic figures as to liberate themselves from colonial domination. For example, the concept of national question advocated by Joseph Stalin called upon the colonized people to fight against colonialism as well as imperialism that was under USA in order to free those colonies, in order to get the market, raw materials, area for investments, and the cheap labor for projects. So that was another significance of Russian Revolution to the world. Another significance was there was ideological reliance there was ideological reliance. This advocated by Russia after the revolution of October 1917 and led new nations in Africa and Asia to rely on USSR in matters related to socialist construction. Otherwise Russia provided tangible support to the new nations of Africa and Asia by providing those new nations lands and aids. Also, Asia vice versa, technical assistance, military assistance, as so that this new nation could defeat colonialism, and imperialism led by USA. It means that the Russian Revolution there was ideological reliance. This advocated by Russia after the revolution of 1917, and that led new nations in Africa and Asia to rely on USSR to get both material support and moral support. It means USSR were providing the tangible materials to those new states in Africa and Asia that were supporting USSR or socialist ideology. In terms of technologically, military, socially, politically, and the other aspects of life, in order to ensure that the triumph of socialism is well managed to be built in those countries. Another significant was there was a joint political standard of socialist countries in the international organization like the UN, where all socialist countries relied with the USSR as the biggest power to be the more spoken man of the third world countries in the international organization and the other meetings or agreements. It means that another significance of Russian Revolution it was that there was a joint political standard of socialist countries in the international organization like the UN, as USSR was representing those all less developed countries in the international organizations and the meetings that were including those big powers. So Russia was representing those less developed countries, especially those who supported the socialism ideology. So those all were the significance that were brought by Russian Revolution of October 1917 to the world. So now let us see the factors for the rise of USSR as the leading socialist nation after World War II. I would like to introduce you the factors that led to the rise of USSR as leading the socialist nation in the world. After World War II or after the Second World War, USSR emerged as the leading socialist nation due to the following reasons. It means that the things or reasons that make USSR to emerge as the leading socialist nation in the world were as follows. The first one was the triumph or victory of USSR against the forces of fascism. It means that the triumph of USSR against the forces of fascism during the World War II in 1939 up to 1945, and the establishment of socialism, which was dominant in Eastern Europe following the communist government in those countries. It means that the victory of USSR against the forces of fascism during the Second World War of 1939 up to 1945 made USSR to be the superpower and to lead as the socialist nation in the world, following which was dominant in the Eastern Europe following the communist government in those countries. But another was expansionism of socialism in other parts of the world led USSR to become powerful, leading the entire socialist. It means that expansionism of socialism in other parts of the world make USSR to be dominant or to be powerful, leading the socialism, to lead entire socialist camp. For example, socialism spread in Cuba, China, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Africa. All these were to follow socialist ideology of USSR, which was led by Russia. So, in one way or another, that was led in Russia or USSR to be the leading socialist superpower of the world. Another one was the unique role of Bolshevik Party in shaping and directing the economy of USSR. It means that another reason that makes USSR to be the leading socialist nation in the world was the unique role that's played by Bolshevik Party in shaping and directing the economy of USSR or Russia. It means that the Bolshevik, for example, the Bolshevik government planned the economy for the benefit of the people in Russia, and this made USSR to become very powerful economically, and started to help other socialist countries in the world, and that gave her to gain the momentum and the popularity to be leading socialist superpower in the world. As we can see that the Bolshevik leaders come up with the proper strategies and the ways on how they will support. It means they will support the existing government in Russia after the revolution in order to benefit the majority of the people in the country, and that other countries were interested of the deeds that was made by the Bolshevik leaders after the revolution, and that made USSR to become popular and powerful all over the world as the leading socialist nation. But another was the formation of military camp or alliance of Warsaw Pact in 1950 to defend and protect USSR with the ideology of socialism and their friend in the world against capitalist countries with the ideology of capitalism. It means that the formation of military camp or alliance, that was the military cooperation that was formed in 1950s by the Russia or USSR, that was already Warsaw Pact to protect USSR and their friends against the capitalism, who formed the NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization of 1949, so that they can struggle and fight against spreading the ideologies in different parts of the world. This led Russian sphere of influence to dominate to dominate socialist countries in the world. For example, capitalists wanted to overthrow the Slovakian communist government, but Russia joined through with the Warsaw Pact. With the Warsaw Pact, this led Russians spheres of influence. Russia's spheres of influence to dominate the socialist countries in the world. For example, capitalists wanted to overthrow the Czechoslovakian communist government, but the Russian joined with Warsaw Pact interfered and finally defeated the capitalist rebels, and that made the USSR to gain the popularity and the powerful and ready to be the leading power of the Socialist Party. Another was good leadership of Russian leaders, such as important role played by Vladimir Ilyich Lenin from 1917 up to 1924, Joseph Stalin of 1928 up to 1953, thereafter followed by Khrushchev and Blesha to bring unity among all Russians in constructing socialism. controlling the economy, clear use of resources available in Russia, restoring peace, and this made Russia ends. Yes, we are proceeding with another reason that made USSR to be the leading socialist nation in the world. It means that the last one was with the withdrawal of Russia from the First World War. It means that the withdrawal of Russia from the First World War, it means this enabled Russia to engage on building on our own economy for so long and bringing unity among the Russians, developing of milling or industries, social, cultural, and technological, but also it made Russia to restore peace and security in Russia for so long. All this enabled Russia to become strong even before the First World War. And even after the war, Russia started to dominate other socialistic nations in the world, and that gave Russia to be the super leading socialist country in the world. So after looking the reasons that gave USSR to be leading the socialist country in the world, I would like to give you the 2 questions which you are supposed to perform Form 6 students concerning with our topic which we are proceeding with, socialism, the rise of socialism. And the first question is, assess the significance of the Russian Revolution of October 1917 to the world. And the second question is, how Russian Revolution affected the African continent. So until there, I would like to say that this is the end of our today's lesson. I welcome you in the next session for another learning. Welcome in Edukea Tanzania for more learning. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.